Government reopens joint training for disciplined forces. 3 suspects held in connection to the assault of Lae Nursing students. And the launch of the prestigious SB Sports Awards.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening, I'm Lorraine Genia with Thursday's news. After 26 years, the government has reopened the Joint Service Training College at Lae's Igam Barracks, which will once again train officers from the Defence Force, Correctional Service and the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. The last batch of officers graduated in 1980, the year when the PNGDF saw its first overseas deployment during Vanuatu's struggle for independence. On Monday, the college will begin its first classes with a new batch of Army, CS and police officers.
The opening of the college comes at a time when there's a high demand for good leadership in all 3 disciplinary services. It also comes when there's a need to meet increasing regional and cross-border security concerns. The reopening of the college this morning also marks a significant investment into national security.
We need to have officers and leadership rank who must understand the role of security, but must also have personal connections. And this has happened in the past where when CIS, police and military personnel were trained together.
Selected members of the 3 disciplinary services, police, correctional service and the PNG Defence Force will be sent here to Igam to undergo 2 years of training.
I cannot take my old school and compare it with this one. This we anticipate to be modern in nature.
When we came through here, the training centered around leadership and how to lead men and women of the future. So this is the aspiration. As for Commissioner, that's what I would emphasize a lot on.
In 1973, the National Executive Council approved the establishment of the Joint Services Training College. The college operated for 5 years until the last batch graduated in 1980. The opening this morning marks a significant shift in thinking and attitude since the Bougainville crisis and Sandline. But there are significant challenges ahead. This morning, the head of the training college, Colonel Carl Rakone, made it known to the ministers and heads of the services that the college would require a separate budget because the current funding from the police, defence and CS will not be adequate to sustain the running of the college.
We have put in about 500,000, but we will now commence and see how much is needed over the years. Then we will have a standard budget. But there will be also a budget that is now we are in discussion mode to look at the total maintenance of this area.
It is hoped that once the teething problems expected by the college are resolved, members of disciplinary forces from MSG countries in the Pacific will be invited to train here as well. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
And the notable absence in today's ceremony was the Minister for Correctional Services, Jim Simitab, who allegedly sacked the Correctional Service Commissioner days before. Michael Waipo, who attended today's event as the CS Commissioner, told MTV there was still no official notice from the Minister or the National Executive Council on his sacking and that the allegations against him had not been presented to him for an official response. He has assured CS members that the CS leadership is intact and that he will leave office only when there is official directions given by the government. Police have caught 3 suspects allegedly responsible for the rape of 2 female students at the Lae Nursing College on Saturday morning. The 3 suspects reside at Banana Camp Settlement at the back of Cassowary Road next to the Bumbu River.
Police investigations have found that one of the suspects has been charged several times for break-and-enter and stealing in shops and in residential areas in the Top Town area. The suspect had with him clothes that matched the descriptions given by the victims. A spare key to room 6 of the girls' dormitory was also found with clothes. A laptop and a mobile phone belonging to one of the victims have also been recovered. On Saturday, 4 armed men entered the Lae School of Nursing College female dormitory through the ablution blocks. The suspects were not able to open the doors. However, they were able to go into the 6th room. Two of the students who shared the room were assaulted by the armed men. Personal properties were robbed from them. The students had called for help, but it was a while later that security guards came to assist and reported the matter to the Lae police station. In 2013, the rape of a nurse employed by Engau Hospital triggered a protest by hospital workers who also shut down operations as part of the call for action. A good detective work by Lae police has resulted in the arrest of the three prime suspects in just 4 days. The suspects are now in police custody. There are two others whose identity are known and arrest will be made soon, while another man who took the stolen property belonging to the girls has also been arrested. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Lae.
The Waigani Committal Court has ordered 2 Asian men to surrender their passports as bail conditions. Senior Magistrate Cosmos Bira made the ruling when both appeared for mention this morning on misappropriation charges. The first accused is a Malaysian and the other a Chinese.
The first accused, Peter Ling Ko Wu, was arrested last Thursday. He was formally charged for 4 counts of false pretense, misappropriation and causing disaffection amongst police officers under Section 136 of the Police Act. Wu was accused of using over 350,000 kina, money allegedly belonging to his employer, between October 2012 and October 2015. 2 similar allegations were brought against Wu in 2015 but were not followed through and were dismissed by the court. Magistrate Bidar explained the charges to Wu and extended his bail until his case returns to court on March 14. In the second case, the accused, James Quyen Bin, appeared for mention on 1 count of misappropriation. He was alleged to have used over 200,000 kina belonging to his employer, Green International Limited. Quyen Bin is out on a 4,000 kina bail, awaiting police investigations. His matter returns to court on 30th March. Following their mention, the court ordered both to surrender their passports to the clerk of court and remain within Papua New Guinea until their case is over. In other matters, 1 woman accused of killing her husband on February 7 appeared for mention. Helen Palena from Western Province was charged for willful murder. She was advised by Magistrate Bidar on the seriousness of her case and told that bail will only be granted at the National Court. Palena's case also returns to court on March 30th. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Police have caught 2 suspects involved in a failed robbery of an Asian businessman outside the ANZ Bank in Lae. The businessman was attacked as he was carrying cash into the bank to make a deposit. The suspects tried to pull the money bag, but the man put up a fight, which caught the attention of security guards manning the area. The criminals, seeing that they were not able to get the money, ran towards a waiting vehicle and drove off, leaving behind one of the criminals. The suspect, who was left behind, was chased on foot by security guards and was caught and handed over to the police. Police investigators are still working on this case and are expected to make more arrests soon. 4 men who were charged for 2 counts of attempted murder and willful damage appeared for mention at the Waigani Committal Court yesterday. The 4 men allegedly involved in destroying 2 government vehicles before attacking their neighbour, Stephen Gibson, the former Finance Secretary. Tekla Gunga reports.
The 4, all from Enga, are Tom Naika, Ricky Lita, Newman Tubim, and Gibson Tom. They live 2 houses away from the complainant at the Walalawa Finance Compound at Gero Stage 1. It was alleged that the 4 were under the influence of alcohol and went to Gibson's house on the night of October 16 last year. The committal court heard that the 4 broke down the main gate into Gibson's house and smashed the windscreen of 4 vehicles before destroying other private properties. According to police investigations, the incident resulted from continuous drinking and disorderly behavior by the four. The cost of damage is valued at over 80,000 kina. The four have justified their actions in their statement as an act of frustration over the delay of police investigations into the death of their relative 2 months prior to the attack. Following further assessment of the damages, additional charges were laid against them. They include 4 counts for break and enter of a dwelling house and committing crime under Section 395 of the Criminal Code Act. All 4 are now detained at the Boroko Police Station holding cells, awaiting their next hearing. Thekla Gunga, National, EMTV News.
The Waigani Committal Court has advised Rigo MP Ano Pala that his files were ready and the courts will proceed with submissions. Mr. Pala appeared for mention this morning and his lawyer confirmed the files were served to his client. Pala was charged with 2 counts of perverting the course of justice and abuse of office. His case returns to court for submissions on the 30th of March. And among stories after the break, the Japanese ambassador's tour of projects in Lae. Hela's political struggles continue and parents query the selection of students to high institutions. Welcome back to the news. The Japanese ambassador to PNG, Morio Matsumoto, was in Lae for 2 days to inspect projects that involved the Japanese government. His Excellency visited the Makam Bridge that was rehabilitated in 2011. He inspected the Bukawa Road pilot site. He also met with the Lae Urbanization Development Team for an explanation of the project. Bethany Harriman with this report.
Day 1 of the Japanese ambassador's visit to Lae was spent at the Makam Bridge. It had been rehabilitated over 8 years using Japanese technical expertise and 40 million kina of aid. Floods destroyed 4 pillars in 2004. In 2005, Japanese studies showed faults in those 4 pillars. They were fixed in 2012.
After
the bridge is vital. It serves villages in Huon, Bulolo and Menyamya district. It also links the Wafi Golpu mine, Zeneg and other businesses to Lae City. An average of about 400 vehicles pass over the bridge every day.
We had the bridge reconstructed and now people are accessing service.
From the Makam Bridge, the ambassador traveled to the Bukawa Road pilot site, a pilot program with Japanese-funded machinery and technical assistance from Japanese engineers.
These are the very typical example that we are hand-to-hand with the Papua New Guinean engineers to assist them to develop their own ability to make road better.
Provincial Works Manager Kingsford Kassen and his engineers have had the opportunity to work with these Japanese experts.
Over the years we have pretty much downgraded on our capacity. So Japan through JICA has come in to assist us in building our capacity with the resources and also technical assistance.
At the Lae District Office, JICA has a group of experts in urban development, social welfare, finance and engineering, developing the Lae Nadzab urban development plans. The Japanese ambassador visited the office on Tuesday.
Yesterday, Japanese Ambassador His Excellency Morio Matsumoto visited Lae's PNG Power office. The reasons for visiting the office was to get an update on the Ramu Systems Development Master Plan and also the Lae Area Distribution Network Master Plan. Now, with that visit, he also got a guided tour of the Taraka substation, a PNG Power substation outside of Lae City. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
The Hela political struggle is still continuing alleged breaches of electing new assembly members. Komo-Magarima MP Francis Potape today called on Anderson Agiru not to destroy the integrity of the Hela Assembly. Potape said he will be writing to the Ombudsman Commission to investigate Agiru in the last 4 weeks.
The conducting of two illegal meetings by Anderson Aigiru on December 29, 2015 and January 26, 2016 has added flame to the political struggle of Hela province. Komamagrima MP Francis Potapet today called on Mr. Aigiru to stop the political nonsense and follow assembly standing orders.
And we are asking Mr. Aigiru to stop all this because you are destroying. What you're going to do is you're going to destroy the people.
A series of decisions were ended down in the two meetings, which Potapet described as illegal. He says his team has remained calm for the Supreme Court decision. However, Aigiru has appointed non-members of the Assembly to make decisions which are crucial for the province.
No governor in this country has a power to recognize anyone as presidents or even councillors for that matter. The provincial assembly is governed by laws, rules, and standing orders.
A major concern by the Komamagrima MP is the 2016 provincial budget, removal of assembly members, and the inclusion of LLG elections next year.
We're calling on the government and the electoral commission to review this decision, and we want it to change. We are of the view that leadership code has been breached. Leadership code has been breached. When you don't have the quorum, can you pick up people on the street, call them president, and so forth?
It's less than 8 days away for the Supreme Court to rule on the leadership tussle for the Hela governor's seat. Meanwhile, the Department of Provincial Affairs and Local Level Government has sent a circular to all provinces that failed LLGs will remain until supplementary elections are conducted. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
A primary school in Port Moresby has received its basic school material supplies. Wardstrip Primary School had its tuition fee-free education materials packaged and delivered under an arrangement with Trade Pacific Limited. The supplies account for 30% of the annual tuition fee-free education allocation divided into the 4 terms of the year.
In accordance with the government's tuition fee-free education policy, parents of children attending Wardstrip Primary School today witnessed the students receiving their learning resource materials from the government's TFFE funding. Trade Pacific, specialized in public distribution system for delivery of education materials, has come to the aid of certain schools like Wardstrip, assisting with learning and teaching materials on credit basis while the schools await their TFFE funds.
We came up with an arrangement with the schools that timing is important. You need your resources for learning. The teachers need their resources for teaching on time. There's no use of getting it in the middle of the year or end of the year. Day 1, week 1 of term 1 of the new year. So that is what we want to tell you, that we are here to safeguard and make sure your children, parents, your children will get a good quality education.
The over 3,000 students from the Wardstrip Primary School each received a kit. The 50 teachers of the school also received their reissues. Head teacher Emily Ricky thanked Trade Pacific for its assistance.
It was done under an arrangement of the school and the company. I just want to be thankful for it's quite a laborious job, having to pack all the kids. And for me, I have over 3,000 students, so for them to pack all these things into the little plastics and into the boxes. So I'd like to express my sincere thank you to the company for a fine job.
The school's board treasurer, Matthew Kalimbao, explained to the parents the different components of the government subsidy. He also emphasized the importance of accountability and reporting back. As recipients of the kits, each student and teacher signed an acknowledgement form confirming receipt of the materials. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The family members of a teenager who graduated with above average grades last year have questioned why he has not been accepted into the higher education institutions he applied to. Lloyd Shaggy graduated last year from Bishop Leo Secondary School in Wewak with all A's and a B in physics. He wanted to study civil engineering at the University of Technology but wasn't given a place. He also was not given a placing at the Lae Polytechnic Institute or the Don Bosco Technical College, his second and third choices respectively. He went yesterday to the University of Technology to see if he could be given a place. His guardians have called on the Office of Higher Education to explain the selection process and explain why high-performing academic students are being pushed out of the system. Moraba Uni Centre and Lae has been providing second opportunities for school leavers over the years. The campus director, Richard Kotson, says every year the student enrolments increase. He also highlighted the free education policy has increased student intakes significantly.
This Open Learning Centre in Lae caters to up to 500 students doing matriculation studies per year. It gives school unfortunate students the opportunity to further education. However, the institution continues to face a shortage of space. These buildings currently used for learning are limited, with not much learning facilities available for students.
Science facilities, we don't have science facilities. We don't have science equipment, and that's from our perspective. But we also, from the students' perspective, they encounter difficulties, especially logistics, they transport to and fro, and then...
More than 18 secondary and high schools in Moraba produce up to 5,000 grade 10s and 12s per year. Less than half these numbers secure spaces at higher learning institutions in the country. The rest go to places like the Moraba Uni Centre or other distant learning institutions to upgrade their marks.
The number is increasing, it's increasing every year, which means that I think they are more, because as a result of the TFF policy, most students are going into the school systems, and then at the end of the day, those fortunate ones who could meet the GPAs are getting into universities and other tertiary institutions, and those who cannot meet the GPAs, they are coming back to here.
As the TFF policy continues to encourage enrollment, more students will be pushed into distance education facilities that don't have the capacity. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Lae.
And now looking at our finance news, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.3295 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3220 US, $0.4504 Australian dollars, $0.2820 euro, and 36.27 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day higher. Crude oil and copper closed lower, while palm oil closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 100 points lower, the ASX closed at 10 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 7 points higher. EMTV News continues after the break with local and international news. Stay with us. Welcome back. For the Universal Catholic Church, it's the beginning of the Lenten season, a time of fasting, prayer and reconciliation in preparation for the Easter period. The Lenten season begins on Ash Wednesday, 46 days before the start of Easter.
The second Wednesday in February is Ash Wednesday. It's one of the most popular and important holy days in the Universal Catholic liturgical calendar. Ash Wednesday is the beginning of the Lent, a season of fasting and prayer. It comes from the ancient Jewish tradition of penance and fasting. The ashes symbolize the dust from which God made us and is administered by the priest or laity on the forehead. The faithful accept the ashes as a visible symbol of penance, with the following words being said: "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." Ash Wednesday takes place 46 days before the Easter Sunday, chiefly observed by the Catholics, including other Christians too. Yesterday, Catholic faithful of St. Joseph's, Boroko Parish in Port Moresby, received the ashes during the Holy Eucharistic celebration. The faithful were reminded of the 40 days and 40 nights thus had experienced to fast, pray, and seek forgiveness from God for the Paschal mystery of salvation, celebrating the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
8 members of the National Alliance Party, including Christian Democratic Party leader and Morbe Governor Kelly Naru, met in Zifising yesterday. The group of politicians included Treasurer Patrick Pruach, who was there to officially open the new Zifising market in the Huon Gulf district. The market will give an avenue for local people to sell items along the highway.
National Alliance Party members including Pruach, Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar and other high-level members of the NA caucus opened a new market in the Huon district yesterday. Huon MP Ross Seymour and the District Development Authority have used government funding to build the market, buy vehicles, purchase earth-moving equipments and portable sawmills.
It hasn't been said publicly, no one is talking about it yet, but this gathering could signal what is to come. That is a relationship between newly formed Christian Democratic Party and the National Alliance in the near future.
In the rural areas of this nation.
The Morbe Governor Kelly Naru fumed about unequal distribution of wealth to rural parts of the country during his speech. He got support from the rest of the politicians. Patrick Pruach answered Kelly Naru's questions.
Christian Democratic Party. Right now.
The market will be an avenue to allow people to sell food items on the Highlands Highway and put money into their pockets. Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar stressed that point.
This is a place where we do business. This is a place where we make money. This is a place where we need to improve our small to medium enterprises, or SME, or is a government.
Next door to the market, the opening of a new teacher's house. 10 meters away, another one, a new police house built from funding from the Morbe provincial government. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
Heading overseas now, 2 passenger trains collided head-on at high speed in the remote countryside in Germany on Wednesday morning. The accident claimed 10 lives and left dozens injured. The shock CEO of the company operating the train said they do not have an explanation for the crash as yet.
The crash happened during the morning rush hour about halfway along a 6-kilometer stretch between the spa town of Bad Aibling and Kolbermoor in Bavaria near the border with Austria. Ambulances could not reach the heavily wooded site, which had a steep hill on one side and a river on the other, so helicopters had to airlift people to nearby hospitals.
Zunächst einmal muss ich sagen, wir sind wahnsinnig erschüttert über dieses.
First, I have to say, we're extremely shocked by the accident today. We have no explanation for what the cause of the accident was. Today it was more important for us to take care of people. Our thoughts are with the victims, relatives, and injured. Of course, investigation of the accident will be taken over by the Public Attorney's Office together with the Federal Railway Investigation Office. We will support the investigation.
Hundreds of emergency service workers, including mountain rescue teams, worked to save passengers at the crash site, where several derailed blue, yellow and grey train carriages lay on their side next to the track. Recovery operations with heavy machinery was suspended overnight and restarted at daybreak yesterday. In Bad Aibling, residents attended a church service to light candles and say prayers for those affected.
None
of us could have ever imagined that such a dramatic disaster could have happened. I mean, the train system is the safest method of transportation that there is. We do all the emergency exercises, our people are trained, but nevertheless, you can never be prepared for such a day. The pain, the shock is very deep. The sadness over deceased passengers, but also our employees. We also lost employees today. It sits very deep. Our entire personnel and I are today only shocked.
The trains had been carrying about 100 passengers, mainly commuters. Police said more people would have been traveling if it had not been a holiday week. State-owned Dutch Bahn is responsible for the track, which has a speed limit of 100 kilometers per hour. The company said the safety system had been checked last week. Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
Vanuatu today celebrated the election of a new Prime Minister to the office. Charlotte Salwai is the newly elected Prime Minister of Vanuatu, who won the seat after receiving over 40 votes from the 52 members of Parliament. The newly elected Prime Minister thanked political leaders for their confidence and trust, adding that it was a privilege to work with former Prime Ministers before becoming a Member of Parliament himself in 2002. Salwai is part of the Reunification of Movements for Change party. An Australian court paving way for the deportation of over 250 asylum seekers to an offshore immigration camp has drawn heavy criticism from the United Nations and sparked protests last week. On Wednesday, the 3rd of February, the High Court rejected a legal test case that challenged Australia's right to deport detained asylum seekers to the tiny South Pacific island of Nauru.
Hundreds of Australians last week protested outside the Sydney offices of the Department of Immigration.
We know, regardless of what the High Court has said, that ethically, morally, Nauru is wrong, offshore processing is wrong. It's a decision which is not going to be made ultimately in the High Court. It's going to be made in the streets, in the workplaces, in the schools and the universities in Australia. And we are part of this community, so telling Malcolm Turnbull that we do not want people sent back to Nauru.
Some 267 people brought from Nauru to Australia for medical treatment, including up to 80 children, now face being returned to the detention centre that accommodates around 500 people.
Let them stay! Let them stay! Let them stay! Let them stay! Let them stay!
The centre has been widely criticised for harsh conditions and reports of systemic child abuse.
From our perspective, every human being is made in the image of God. Every human being is deserving of respect and of a life that is lived in the sense of well-being. And this is not happening, and we can do better than this. We can let them stay. We can let them stay. Let them stay.
Rupert Colville, spokesman for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said in an emailed statement that Australia could contravene its obligations under the Convention on the Rights of the Child by sending back the group, which includes more than 12 women and at least one child who have allegedly been sexually assaulted or harassed while in Nauru. The group also includes 37 children born in Australia. Under Australia's immigration policy, asylum seekers attempting to reach the country by boat are intercepted and sent to camps on Nauru or on Manus Island in Papua New Guinea. The government says the policies are necessary to stop asylum seekers dying at sea aboard the often rickety boats used by people smugglers. Immigration Minister Peter Dutton reiterated in a statement that asylum seekers arriving by boat would either be intercepted and turned back or sent to another country for processing. However, in an ABC radio interview on Thursday, he appeared to open the door to at least some of those affected remaining in Australia.
The same principle will apply into the future as it has in the past, and that is that if people have acute medical needs and they come to Australia, then those needs will be met. We'll provide the medical support, as you would expect from a compassionate country like Australia, and then at the end of that medical support, when the doctors and the department deem that it's appropriate for that person to return to Nauru, that will be the policy continuing. And I think it's very important to send a very clear message, that is that we are not going to put children into harm's way. We're going to work individually through each of the cases.
While the numbers of people attempting to reach Australia are small in comparison with the floods of asylum seekers in Europe, the issue is a big political challenge for Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. Alana Lae, EMTV World News.
And Trukai Sports is up next. I'll be back with the launch of the SB Sports Awards. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The prestigious SB Sports Awards was launched today in the nation's capital with the theme Celebrate. As 2015 was one of the most successful years of sports for Papua New Guinea, the awards are a celebration of the countless victories from the 2015 Pacific Games and many other events that happened throughout the year. This year's event will be no different to the awards held previously, as it will be an evening for the entire sports fraternity to come together to recognise and celebrate the achievements by many of Papua New Guinea's sportsmen and women. 24 years in running and a whole heap of reasons for the country to celebrate. Secretary-General of the PNG Olympic Committee, Vita Rapila, has regarded this year's awards as rather special, as it recognises the achievements from all across the board in their efforts on and off field during the nation's biggest sporting event last year.
This year's awards, as mentioned by Stan, is very special because of the fantastic sporting achievements the country witnessed in 2015 and the celebrations that accompanied those achievements.
Stan Joyce, CEO of SB Brewery, the award's biggest sponsor, said it is from the Pacific Games that they anticipate there will be an overwhelming response for the awards this year.
There is no lack of candidates for nominations for awards this year, not only through the Pacific Games but many other successful ventures. Quick plug for the SB Hunters there, of course, but there are, in cricket and in many other sports, rugby, some of the swimming teams, things that were achieved that went well and truly beyond. And I'm spending the time to talk about that today because one of the things that we really want to see is a record number of nominations.
The launching of the 2016 SB Sports Awards also marked the opening of nominations. All 12 categories remain, with the People's Choice of the Year award again allowing the public to be given the opportunity to vote for finalists from 4 categories: the Male Athlete of the Year category, Female Athlete of the Year, Team of the Year and National Performance of the Year categories. Nominations close on the 1st of April, with the presentation night set for the 4th of May. The PNG Sports Foundation is pleased with the current state of the infrastructural developments ongoing in Kimbe, West New Britain, leading into the 7th PNG Games. Director of Marketing Events and Sponsorship John Susove confirmed preparations are underway with all construction phases progressing well. He also added that while there may be challenges, particularly with the logistical demands of the Games, PNGSF will maintain all 24 sports and the participation of all 22 provinces.
Sports Foundation calendar of activities for key dates and requirements. We're giving ample time to how best we can come up with most of the compulsory sports requirements. Then from those baseline we can be able to tell the 22 provinces exactly what key sports should be entered in terms of their strengths and their participation. So all in all, we still maintain the 24 sports and the 4 Paralympic sports, so it should be good for everyone to participate at the 2016 7th PNG Games.
The Telecom National Soccer League draws for the next 6 weeks was announced this week. 4 teams have made it through, 2 from the Northern Conference and 2 from the Southern Conference.
PK Rapatona, Hekari United, Wellgrace Morobe FC and last year's champions Lae City Dwellers are the top 4 teams that have made it through. The 4 teams will play home and away matches over the next 6 weeks, with the first match to be played next weekend. The first match will be a home game for both the Southern and Northern Conference as Rapatona takes on Hekari at Bisini, while in Lae City Dwellers take on Wellgrace Morobe FC. Game 2 will also be a home match which will be played on Wednesday, the 24th of February.
Game 2 will be on the 24th of February.
Game 3 will be played on the 27th of Feb, Game 4 on the 5th of March, Game 5 on the 12th, and the last match on the 19th of March, followed by the finals on the 26th of March. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break with Netball and Rugby League. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Following the announcement of Netball PNG's expansion of the code and including a men's and mixed netball competition in the country, former Pepe's rep and current secretary of Netball PNG, Mona Lisa Leka, has voiced her support. While this won't be a first for the federation to introduce a men's competition, Leka says it will be good for both the expansion and development of the code in country.
It's an exciting time for us. It was played some years back, a long time ago. People really don't know that there's a big interest in the male gender here in the country. We have a lot of talented netballers in the male gender. So it is an exciting time for us to revive this again and have a wider group come out and participate. Yeah.
Former Dalian medalist Ben Barber is eyeing the Cronulla Sharks' #1 jersey and is aiming for the fullback spot in the Queensland Maroons team. Barber believes he is closer at regaining his form in 2012 after being in a fight for the Cronulla fullback spot this pre-season with Valentine Holmes and Jack Bird.
Competition is tough for studying sports under Sharks coach Shane Flanagan, but Barber said he was finding his inspiration from within. After the NRL Auckland Nines, Barber gets his next chance to impress for the Indigenous All-Stars under Laurie Daly at Suncorp Stadium this weekend. Queensland's depth will be tested this year after a total of 8 young guns were banned for 12 months for breaking curfew under new coach Kevin Walters at an emerging Maroons camp.
Really, for Aaron Woods as they take the second play and go beyond the 20-metre line where Hoffman played at Woods.
Hearing this, Barber said he was ready to step up for the Maroons and hopefully put on the #1 jersey. It will be a challenge for Barber going up against experienced fullback Billy Slater. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. You're with the details up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Now looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region cloudy with a chance of showers in Port Moresby, some showers for Daru, Kerema, Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momase region, some showers in all centres. In the New Guinea Islands, also some showers for all centres. And lastly, in the Highlands region, showers for all centres. Now recapping our top stories for tonight. Government reopens joint training for disciplined forces. 3 suspects held in connection to the assault of Lae Nursing students and the launch of the prestigious SB Sports Awards. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Thursday, the 11th of February 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Lorraine Genia. Pleasant viewing. Good night.